Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Season 2, Episode 6, The Family Matters. Her mother Alice frowned as she said to Elisa.
I don't know why you're becoming so disobedient.
Elisa was hurt, but she knew that her mother had only said that because she had seen Jeff wearing scruffy clothes. Her family didn't understand that she wanted a boyfriend that she really liked, not just someone with a lot of money.
How could you talk back to Grandma like that?
Her mother continued. Another relative asked Elisa,
How could you bring a boyfriend who dresses so badly home to meet your family?
Alice said.
Elisa, Grandma dots on you. You have to be more reasonable.
Elisa had been told what to do by her relatives for years. They all had their own perspectives on her life and didn't consider her wishes at all. Some of her relatives started to try to smooth things over. Her uncle said,
We shouldn't judge a person by his appearance. Perhaps his family has money, but he just doesn't want to show off. I don't believe that Elisa would do anything to harm the family.
He walked up to Jeff and said,
Jeff Wright, where do you live? What does your family do?
Witnessing Elisa arguing with her family like this, Jeff felt awful. He was contemplating telling them that he was from just inside of the Florento family and that they owned Florento Enterprises. Perhaps this would appease them without him having to reveal his true identity, but before he could say anything, Elisa stepped forward and spoke up for him.
He's just an ordinary student from Peston University, and he comes from an ordinary family,
she said. As far as she knew, Jeff was not even from an averagely wealthy family, but she didn't want him to be mocked by her family anymore.
What?
Elisa's uncle was surprised. He had been expecting Elisa to tell them all that Jeff was actually from a much better family than they had all feared. But the reverse was true. He really was a nobody. Felisa heaved a sigh.
Elisa really is being so disobedient today,
she thought. At that moment, another person's voice came from the driveway. It was saying,
This is our villa.
Because the courtyard was very quiet, the person's voice could be heard very clearly. The others looked over and saw that it was Noah. He was accompanied by a beautiful girl. To Jeff's horror, it was Jonah.
Hey, what's going on?
Noah asked as he approached his sister. Becca rushed over to him and in a whisper told him everything that had happened earlier. Only then did Noah notice that everyone's eyes were focused on Elisa and Jeff. The corner of his mouth curled up into a sinister smile. Noah walked over to Jeff and said proudly,
See, guys did know about my cousin's boyfriend. Let me fill you in. I know all about him.
Elisa said quickly.
Noah, shut up.
She knew that anything he said wasn't going to help. Jeff had already made a bad impression on her grandmother and the rest of their family, and she didn't want Noah to make it worse.
Don't worry. I won't say any more. I can see that if I do, my cousin's going to hit me.
Noah covered his mouth and mocked fear.
Speak,
Felisa said to Noah. She was becoming increasingly frustrated with Elisa that day.
Okay, Grandma.
Noah replied obediently. He looked at his cousin. He knew that she was already uncomfortable, but he decided to wind her up a little more. He said provocatively,
Remember, Eliza, it's not my fault. Grandma asked me. Even if you're angry, don't hit me.
Elisa looked at him with pure hatred in her eyes. This only made him laugh. Noah cleared his throat, then looked at Jeff with a wicked grin on his face. He said,
He's a poor student from Peston University. He never eats in restaurants, not even once a year.
Noah had obtained quite a lot of juicy information from Jonah.
He eats the same thing for his breakfast, lunch and dinner every single day. His breakfast is always grits, his lunch is bread, and his dinner is some kind of tin soup. He only buys 2 new items of clothes a year. Sometimes he doesn't even have enough money for shampoo, so he just uses detergent to wash his hair. He's been using the same basic cell phone since high school. Even when the screen broke, he didn't have the money to get a new phone. He often takes his girlfriend out to the street vendor for hot dogs because he can't afford to eat out anywhere else.
Noah continued on with defamatory information about Jeff. No one in Elisa's family could believe what they were hearing or that she would want to date such a person. Each time Noah said something new, they would gasp. They couldn't believe that someone could be so poor and live such a basic life in 2023. Jonah, who was watching everything, felt very smug when she saw Noah criticizing Jeff to the whole Cortez family. She had been sure that Elisa would ditch Jeff after what had happened at Noah's party, but here he was. He must have used some kind of trick to change her mind, but now, even if Elisa had fallen for Jeff, he didn't stand any chance with her. The Cortezes would definitely not let a poor bastard like him marry into the family, especially after what he had done. Jonah thought that Jeff looked extremely pitiful standing in the middle of the crowd, and she laughed herself. She didn't have a shred of pity for him and only felt better as she took revenge on him. She thought,
Jeff, oh, Jeff, do you really think just because Elisa seems to like you, everything will go smoothly for you now?
Felisa's chest rose and fell slightly as she listened to Noah speak. Her face looked sinister and scary, and a silent pressure seemed to emanate from her body. If it had been any family member other than Elisa that she had been glaring at, that person would have been kneeling on the ground at her feet, begging for her forgiveness.
I really didn't expect him to be so poor,
said one of Noah's cousins. Another replied,
He's not even moderately wealthy. What made him think he could be with Eliza?
Someone asked,
Noah, how do you know him so well? Because his ex-girlfriend is now my girlfriend.
Noah smiled proudly toward Jonah, who was obediently walking over to him. He put his arm around her shoulder. Noah introduced her to Felisa.
Grandma, her name is Jonah. She's my girlfriend.
Hello, Mrs. Cortez. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Jonah said sweetly.
She's so beautiful,
said one of the cousins.
Yeah, she looks like a model. Noah's got good taste,
agreed another. Several relatives praised Jonah's exquisite looks. Jeff was standing beside her, and Jonah knew he must feel extremely uncomfortable. While the Cortez family had criticized and rejected him, they were welcoming her with open arms. This had proved the best way of getting revenge on Jeff. Her situation could only improve as part of this family, while his humiliation would grow. Felisa glanced indifferently at Jonah as she asked Noah.
You said she was this person's ex-girlfriend?
That's right.
Noah didn't understand why she was asking, but Jonah did. She became anxious. The others also understood what Felisa meant. One said,
She used to be with this guy. If he's a poor loser, then she must be.
What does her family do? Are they poor like him? I bet she just wants to marry into our family for the money,
concluded another. Someone else advised Noah.
It's easy to find a good-looking girl. You really have to worry about her character. Is it just your money she wants?
As he listened to the warnings from his family, Noah finally understood the meaning behind his grandmother's words. He hadn't even considered marrying Jonah into his family. All he wanted to do was have a good time with her. He'd never expected that dating her would cause such a ruckus.
Grandma, actually.
He tried to explain the situation to his grandmother, but her gaze suddenly became sharp, as if she was shooting an arrow right through him. Noah was scared. He had to say the right thing now, so that he wouldn't lose the love of his grandmother. He said,
Grandma, I was careless. Now I understand that if she's the kind of woman who's willing to be with this kind of man, it means that she's no good for me. I haven't known her very long, so I didn't really know what she was like. Don't worry, she'll never be part of our family.
Noah became more confident as he spoke. He was sure that his explanation would get him back into his family's good books. Jonah was stunned.
Noah?
She gasped. She was already uneasy about the situation, but she had never expected Noah to abandon her so decisively. Over the past days, Noah's sweet words had convinced her that he was going to propose, and that she was going to be part of a wealthy family, as she had always dreamed of. Now his words were like a dagger slashing her beautiful dreams into pieces.
Jonah, it's over. We have nothing more to say to each other. Please leave and don't bother me again,
Noah said to her resolutely. He was actually quite reluctant to let her go because he wasn't quite bored with her yet. However, his family had made it clear that he had to dump her. Jonah held his hand and pleaded.
Noah, you can't treat me like this. You said you wanted to marry me.
Noah couldn't shake her off, no matter how hard he tried. With so many people watching, he felt humiliated that he couldn't even handle a single woman.
Get lost.
Noah kicked Jonah to the ground, yelled at her.
Don't blame me for this. If you have to blame anyone, blame yourself for being so beautiful. Of course men want to sleep with you. Since I've had some fun with you, I'm going to compensate you with $20,000. Take this card. The PIN is to 324. Now hurry up and get out of my sight.
Noah took out a bank card from his wallet and threw it on the ground. Jonah knew there was no hope. If she stayed, she would only have to endure further humiliation. She stood up, picked up the card from the ground, turned around, and ran out of the courtyard through the fancy iron gate.
Grandma, I was wrong. Please accept my apology.
Noah lowered his head and walked over to Felisa.
It's good to know you've admitted your mistakes. Everything will be okay now.
Felisa told him kindly. Noah nodded and stood to the side. He was relieved.
Elisa, what about you?
Felisa said, her gaze once again landed on Elisa. She hoped that she would admit her mistakes like Noah did. As long as she did, Felisa would forgive her too. Elisa didn't dare to meet her grandmother's eyes, but she still said in a low voice,
I'm sorry, grandmother.
she didn't want to give up Jeff because of her family. Felisa's body started to tremble. Elisa kept disobeying her, and she was getting really angry. That moment, Noah walked over to Jeff and shoved him. He said angrily,
Just get lost. How dare you upset my grandmother like this? Stupid loser.
Jeff's body felt weak and he almost fell to the ground.
Why are you pushing him? Leave him alone.
Elisa scolded Noah. She hugged Jeff's asking with concern,
Are you okay?
Why are you protecting him?
One of Alyssa's cousins asked. Her aunt said,
Now you've really upset Grandma.
You should show some more respect.
Said another. Alyssa's family was really unhappy with her. She knew that if she stayed, her relatives would continue to berate her, so she decided to leave with Jeff. She said,
Grandmother, I understand that you don't like him very much. Since you're so upset with us, we'll leave now.
Elisa supported Jeff as they walked towards the fancy metal gate.
Stop!
Felisa bellowed.
You came here for a family gathering, and now you think you can leave so soon. If you leave now, you are no longer part of our family.
If it was anyone else, Felisa wouldn't care so much, but Elisa was too important to her to let her go. She knew that she had to do something to shock her into staying.